chances are, if you're a basketball fan in Philly, you woke up to some thrilling news. Paul George has officially inked a deal with the 76ers. The announcement sent shockwaves through the NBA community. But what does this blockbuster signing mean for the Eastern Conference? How will the dynamic trio of PG, Tyrese Maxey, and Joel Embiid mesh on the court? And just how far can we expect the 76ers to go in this upcoming season? Since pretty much the 2017 season, the 76ers have cycled through multiple iterations of their contending team. From the Ben Simmons, Jimmy Butler experiment to the James Harden era, and now their current duo of Joel Embiid alongside the rising star Tyrese Maxey. None of these cores have achieved the desired success. The team arguably hit rock bottom in 2024 with a disappointing first-round exit. One constant throughout the Embiid era has been Tobias Harris, whose max contract became notorious in Philadelphia due to his underperformance in crucial moments. Now that Harris has moved on to the Detroit Pistons, the 76ers found themselves in need of a new presence on the wing, and the 76ers made a bold move to fill the void left by Harris, signing veteran star Paul George away from the Los Angeles Clippers with a 4-year, $212 million contract. George is set to spend the rest of his prime years in Philadelphia alongside Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, aiming to become the crucial piece that finally propels the Sixers to championship glory. Philadelphia's experiment with Embiid and Maxey, supported by role players in the 2023-24 season, fell short of competing with the league's elite teams. The Eastern Conference continues to strengthen with notable improvements from the New York Knicks and Orlando Magic, and likely the Milwaukee Bucks. Meanwhile, the Boston Celtics remain formidable, poised to bring back their core for another run. So a core of Embiid, Maxey, Oubre, and a few solid players wasn't gonna cut it. Acquiring Paul George, however, changes the game for Philly, giving them a chance to compete with the league's upper echelon. An ideal lineup featuring Maxey, McCain, Oubre, George, and Embiid is a nightmare for opponents due to its immense talent and matchup versatility. This lineup boasts great wing defenders, athleticism across the board, and multiple offensive threats. George fits in seamlessly as an elite off-ball player and one of the best catch-and-shoot specialists in the NBA, enhancing Philly's offensive arsenal and defensive prowess. It makes sense that Paul George, at 34, has lost part of his athleticism given his lengthy history of leg ailments. This has affected several aspects of his game, most notably his ability to slash the ball. His inability to outmuscle physical opponents when dribbling is currently his greatest weakness as a player. This deficiency was evident in the Dallas series, where he was often forced to rely on difficult pull-up jumpers because he could not consistently establish an edge. George has never really been very proficient at pull-up shooting inside the arc. His two-point percentage on these attempts has only topped 40% 3 times since joining the Thunder 7 years ago. It usually resides in the 38 to 39% area. However, I think it's safe to say that throughout the last 2 seasons, he's performed at his best in this regard. With limited offense at the rim and inconsistent efficiency in the mid-range, Paul George heavily relies on his three-point shooting to generate most of his scoring. This dependence leads to inconsistency. When he's hot, he looks unstoppable. A 6'8" forward with excellent ball handling, effortlessly sinking long-range jumpers over any defender. When he's cold, he is ice cold, resembling a subpar version of himself, as seen in 4 of the 6 games in last year's playoffs. Over the past 3 seasons, George has made 35% of his pull-up threes, which is respectable. However, relying on this as a primary offensive weapon, coupled with him not being an elite passer, limits his productivity as a top creator. The story changes significantly, though, when examining his catch-and-shoot numbers. He's shot over 40% in 6 of the last 7 seasons, peaking at 45% last year. Few players can match this level of catch-and-shoot efficiency. This is where George can make a significant impact in Philly. Joel Embiid, arguably the best mid-floor scorer we've ever seen, demands immense defensive attention due to his unstoppable pull-ups, explosive drives, and foul-drawing capabilities. This often creates ample space on the perimeter for his teammates. George, being one of the league's best catch-and-shoot threats, could thrive in these situations. Paul George will take on both primary and secondary scoring duties when Joel Embiid is inevitably banged up, providing Philly with a reliable offensive weapon even if the big man misses time during the season or playoffs, a scenario that has unfortunately become almost certain. However, it's now Tyrese Maxey's time to lead the Sixers, and George should be perfectly content providing tertiary scoring off the ball while focusing more on defending and rebounding. Philadelphia's lineup no longer has glaring weaknesses for opponents to exploit. They can run Maxey-Embiid pick and roll with a floor spread, play 5 out, isolate with any of their 3 stars, or run a 2-man game with any combination of their big 3. Another reason there's more lineup flexibility now is due to Paul George's contributions on the defensive end. It would be incorrect to assume that he's merely mediocre or just somewhat above mediocre. Even though he might not be the same defender he was in Oklahoma City or Indiana, George is still a highly skilled and adaptable defensive forward. His position has changed from being a threat at the point of attack to one of assistance, and he is excellent in this role, even though he's lost some quickness. There are never too many large wings on the court, which makes George's size and length invaluable. His alertness and IQ make sure he's at the right place at the right time every time. And although Joel Embiid is among the best paint protectors in the NBA, the 76ers have never had a forward on their team who can make the appropriate adjustments and support the facilitator. Here is where George excels, constantly establishing a good position and providing strong rim defense. Their outstanding inside defense is further strengthened by his ability to intercept or deflect passes with lightning speed. George also adds switchability, which increases lineup adaptability. He can play both the 2 and the 4, where he is likely to spend a lot of time creating space on the wing for a superior point of attack defender or another attacking danger. This brings up a severe point of attack defensive shortfall on the current squad, which is cause for concern. Their greatest option in this area, D'Anthony Melton, was lost to the Warriors. So now they have to rely on Kelly Oubre or Kyle Lowry, who is 38 years old and starting to show his age. The team also doesn't have excellent passing in really any area. Without a premier playmaker, the supporting cast must be full with excellent connectors. Although Lowry is excellent, his efficacy is limited by his age. And their second best connection, Nick Batum, is rumored to be leaving, which makes the issue even worse. And then there's also the potential for disaster. Pairing 2 of the sport's most injury-prone players in their 30s is a significant risk. While Philadelphia had little choice but to sign Paul George to avoid another wasted season and upsetting their superstar Joel Embiid, this move comes with considerable risks. Here's the crux of it. Embiid is entering his age 31 season and already feels like an old 30-year-old due to his size and extensive injury history. Pairing him with a 34-year-old declining star like George, who has also faced numerous injuries, is a dangerous gamble. Embiid is likely in the last sprint of his career. Whether it lasts 2, 3, or 4 more years is uncertain. However, this signing locks him in with George for the remainder of his prime. George will be 38 years old when his contract expires, almost guaranteeing that the Sixers are going to be paying max dollars to a potentially mediocre player by the end of that deal. Although there are ways to offload contracts, they can be punitive. Philly has to aim to capture a championship sooner rather than later. The tandem of George and Embiid, now attached at the hip for the rest of their careers, raises concerns for Philly fans. Both players have had disappointing playoff performances in their careers, and their health and consistency will be critical in determining the success of this high-stakes move. Philadelphia really had no choice but to sign Paul George, but now each player has to step up and deliver a championship. The stakes are high and the pressure is on. Embiid and George must rise to the occasion, overcoming their past playoff disappointments and injury concerns to bring glory to Philly. So what do you think? Is Paul George joining the 76ers a genius move or a potential disaster? Will his presence finally bring a championship to Philadelphia? Or is the risk too great given his and Embiid's injury histories? I want to know what you think. Drop your comments below and let us know if you believe this duo will dominate the Eastern Conference or if it's a gamble that might not pay off. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to NBA Swish for all things basketball. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.